The heavy oak doors of Vincenzo's creaked as I pushed them open, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Tonight would change everything. I'd rehearsed the words 1,000 times, but they still felt like broken glass in my mouth. My name is Mary, and I was about to detonate my family's perfect little world. The restaurant hummed with the usual Friday night chaos, servers weaving between tables, wine glasses clinking, the constant chatter of satisfied customers. My father's pride and joy. His temple of culinary tradition, where he'd spent 30 years building our family legacy. The legacy I was about to reject. "You're late." Tom's voice cut through the ambient noise as I reached the private dining room. My brother's perfectly pressed shirt and carefully styled hair screamed of the control he'd inherited from our father. "Everyone's waiting." "Traffic," I lied, smoothing my dress. The truth, I'd spent 20 minutes sitting in my car, gathering courage, would only give him more ammunition. The private dining room fell silent as I entered. Mother's fingers tightened around her wine glass, her smile stretched thin across her face. Father sat at the head of the table, his presence filling the room like smoke. Grandma Eleanor's knowing eyes met mine, and I saw a flash of understanding cross her weathered features. "Well, if it isn't our prodigal daughter," Father said, raising his glass. "Finally decided to grace us with your presence at our monthly family dinner?" I took my seat, the leather chair squeaking beneath me. "I had a client meeting that ran late." "Ah, yes, your little gardening hobby." Tom smirked, cutting into his veal. "How's that going?" "It's landscape design," I corrected, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "And I just landed the Peterson estate project." "The Petersons?" Mother's eyebrows shot up. "Charles Peterson's place?" "Yes." I reached for my water glass, buying time. "They want a complete redesign of their grounds. It's a 6-figure contract." Father's knife scraped against his plate. "That's interesting, but surely not as interesting as the expansion plans for Vincenzo's. Tom, why don't you tell your sister about the new location?" "Actually," I interrupted, the word falling from my lips like a stone into still water. "I need to tell you all something." The air grew thick with tension. Grandma Eleanor set down her fork, her eyes never leaving my face. "I'm leaving the restaurant. Permanently." The silence that followed was absolute, broken only by the distant clattering of dishes from the main dining room. "Don't be ridiculous," Father said finally, his voice dangerously soft. "This is your heritage, Mary. Your responsibility." "No," I said, surprised by the strength in my voice. "It's your dream, Father, not mine. I'm building my own legacy now." Tom laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "With what? Flower arrangements and pretty gardens? This is what happens when you indulge a child's fantasies, Father. I told you she'd never—" "Enough." Father's fist crashed onto the table, making the silverware jump. "Mary, you will not throw away generations of tradition for some foolish rebellion. I forbid it. I'm 28 years old," I said, standing slowly. "You can't forbid me to do anything anymore." "If you walk away from this table," he said, each word precise and cutting, "you walk away from this family, from everything we've built, everything we are." I looked at Mother, who stared fixedly at her plate, at Tom, whose triumph leaked from every pore, at Grandma Eleanor, whose slight nod gave me the final push I needed. "Then I guess this is goodbye." As I walked toward the door, Father's voice followed me like a curse. "You'll regret this, Mary. Mark my words." What he didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd discovered their secrets. The missing money, the lies, the betrayals that ran deeper than anyone suspected. They thought this was about rebellion, about gardens versus restaurants. They had no idea this was just the beginning. I pushed through those heavy oak doors one last time, leaving behind the suffocating weight of false loyalty and forced traditions. In the cool night air, I finally allowed myself to smile. Let them think they'd won. Let them believe they'd broken me. Revenge, like the gardens I designed, required patience, planning, and perfect timing. And I had all three. Grandma Eleanor's garden always smelled of earth and secrets. 3 days after walking out of Vincenzo's, I found myself kneeling in her herb beds, dirt under my fingernails, trying to forget the 17 missed calls from my mother. "Your father used to hide here too," Grandma Eleanor said, settling into her weathered wooden chair beside the lavender. Back when he was courting your mother and my husband disapproved. Father? Hiding? I yanked a stubborn weed, imagining it was Tom's smug face. That doesn't sound like the great Richard Thompson. People change, dear. Usually not for the better. She paused, watching a butterfly dance between her prized roses. Tom called this morning. My hands stilled in the soil. What did he want? To warn me about you. Said you're having some sort of breakdown. That I shouldn't enable your destructive behavior. She chuckled, the sound dry as autumn leaves. I told him to stuff it. Grandma? Oh, please, I'm 78. I've earned the right to speak my mind. She leaned forward, her voice dropping. But Mary, there's something you should know. I overheard your father and Tom talking last week, before your announcement. Something about missing funds and... The crunch of tires on gravel cut her off. Mother's silver Mercedes rolled into view and my stomach clenched. I'll handle this, Grandma Eleanor said, rising with surprising agility. You go around back through the kitchen. Take the box on the counter. I've been meaning to give it to you anyway. I slipped through the garden gate as Mother's heels clicked up the path. Their voices drifted over the hedges. Susan, what a surprise. Tea? Where is she, Mother? Who? The garden fairy? She was here earlier, stealing my strawberries. In the kitchen, a dusty wooden box sat waiting. Inside, yellowed papers caught my eye. Bank statements, letters, old photographs. One showed a younger version of my father standing beside an unfamiliar man, both wearing Vincenzo's uniforms. On the back, in Grandma's careful script, Richard and Marco, 1985. Original partners. Original partners? My phone buzzed. A text from Lily. Your brother's here at the design firm. Looking for you. Not happy. Another buzz. This time from David, my colleague. Need to talk. Found something interesting in the Peterson contract research. Call me. Footsteps approached the kitchen. I shoved the box into my bag as Mother burst in, Grandma Eleanor close behind. Enough running, Mary. Your father is willing to forgive this episode. Come home. We'll pretend none of this happened. Pretending is what got us here, I said, backing toward the door. How long have you been pretending everything's fine, Mother? That the restaurant's doing well? That Tom's qualified to run it? Her face paled. What are you talking about? Susan, Grandma Eleanor warned, but I was already moving. Ask Father about Marco, I said, watching Mother's expression shift. Ask him what really happened to his original partner. How did you... Mother's hands trembled as she reached for me. Mary, please, there are things you don't understand. I understand enough. The back door felt cool against my palm. And I'm going to understand more. Your father will never forgive you if you start digging, Mother said, her voice cracking. Some secrets should stay buried. Like the missing money? The words shot out before I could stop them. Mother's sharp intake of breath told me everything. Who told you about that? Nobody had to tell me. I have eyes. I stepped outside into the gathering dusk. And unlike you, I'm not afraid to use them. Mary. But I was already gone, the box of secrets heavy in my bag, my mind racing with possibilities. Later that night, as I sorted through the documents in my apartment, my phone lit up with a text from an unknown number. Heard you're asking about Marco. Coffee tomorrow, I have answers. I stared at the message, remembering the photograph, the fear in Mother's eyes, the pieces of a puzzle I hadn't known existed until now. Father had built his empire on something darker than family tradition, and I was going to find out what it was. The truth, like the thorny roses in Grandma Eleanor's garden, would draw blood before revealing its beauty. I was counting on it. The coffee shop buzzed with morning regulars, but Marco's daughter sat alone in the corner, her hands wrapped around an untouched latte. Sophia Rossi looked nothing like the smiling teenager in the old photograph, but grief had a way of aging people. 20 years without a father would do that. The official story was that Marco abandoned the restaurant, she said, sliding a manila envelope across the table. Left my mother and me for a new life in Chicago, except he never made it there. My fingers trembled as I opened the envelope. Bank statements, police reports, newspaper clippings yellowed with age. your father didn't just steal the restaurant from mine, Sophia said. He stole everything. The bell above the door chimed. David walked in, freezing when he saw me. The Peterson estate blueprints tucked under his arm suddenly felt like evidence of another betrayal waiting to happen. Mary, we need to talk about the project. Not now. I shoved the documents into my bag. I'll meet you at the office. Sophia's dark eyes followed David as he retreated. Be careful who you trust. I learned that lesson too late. Back at the design firm, I locked myself in my office, spreading Marco's papers across my desk. The numbers told a story of systematic theft, of accounts drained and partnerships dissolved, of a man who disappeared the same night nearly $500,000 vanished from the restaurant's accounts. My phone lit up with Tom's name. I declined the call, but his text came through anyway. The Peterson contract is void. Hope you enjoyed your little rebellion while it lasted. The floor seemed to tilt beneath me. I dialed David's extension with shaking fingers. What did you do? Mary, listen. What did you do? His sigh crackled through the line. Tom came to me last week. Said your father would double my salary if I joined Vincenzo's development team instead. The Peterson project goes with me. You're working with them? After everything I told you? It's just business. Nothing personal. I laughed, the sound sharp enough to cut. Everything in my family is personal. Lily found me in the office parking lot an hour later, staring at my laptop screen. The restaurant's financial records glowed in the gathering dusk, numbers swimming before my eyes. You look like you've seen a ghost, she said, sliding into the passenger seat. Maybe I have. I turned the screen toward her. Look at these transfers. Every month, large sums moving through shell companies. It's still happening. Father's not just stealing from the restaurant. He's laundering money through it. Holy shit. Lily squinted at the screen. Does Tom know? Tom's probably helping him. The golden child wouldn't dare question. A sharp rap on my window made us both jump. Mother stood there, her perfect makeup unable to hide the fear in her eyes. We need to talk, she mouthed through the glass. In the quiet of an empty conference room, Mother's composure cracked. Your father knows you've been talking to Sophia Rossi. He's not himself, Mary. I've never seen him like this. Like what? Scared? Dangerous. She gripped my arm. Whatever you think you know about Marco, let it go. Please, before someone else gets hurt. Like Marco did? Mother's hand fell away. You don't understand what happened back then. What your father had to do to protect us. Protect us, or protect himself? Both. She moved toward the door, then paused. Your grandmother called. Said she has more documents for you. Don't go there tonight. Tom's watching the house. But as she left, her words had the opposite effect. If Tom was watching Grandma Eleanor's house, it meant there was something there worth protecting. Something they didn't want me to find. I waited until midnight before driving out to the estate. The gardens were silver under the moon, roses nodding like conspirators in the breeze. A light burned in Grandma Eleanor's study window. The back door opened before I could knock. I was wondering when you'd come, Grandma said, ushering me inside. There's something you need to see. Something I should have shown you years ago. She led me to her study, where an old safe stood open in the wall behind her desk. Inside, a single red ledger waited like a time bomb. Your father didn't just steal the restaurant from Marco, she said, echoing Sophia's words from this morning. He stole it from me, and now we're going to take it back. I stared at my grandmother, this woman I thought I knew, and saw a stranger with familiar eyes. What are you saying? I'm saying, my dear, that revenge runs in the family. She smiled, sharp as thorns. And it's time you learned how deep those roots really go. The red ledger burned in my bag like a live coal as I walked into Vincenzo's through the service entrance. 3 decades of secrets wrapped in cracked leather, and every page stained with my grandmother's meticulous handwriting. The kitchen staff barely glanced my way. They remembered me from before, the prodigal daughter who used to help prep vegetables on summer breaks. Tom's voice carried from the office. The health inspector's coming Monday. Make it look good. I slipped past, following the familiar path to Father's private office. The safe behind the Tuscan landscape painting called to me like a siren. 20 minutes. That's all I needed. The combination hadn't changed. Mother's birthday, as always. Inside, fresh documents waited like prizes. Loan agreements, property deeds, and a familiar name that made my blood freeze. David's signature, dated 3 weeks ago on partnership papers. Looking for something specific? I slammed the safe shut, but Tom already filled the doorway, his smile sharp as broken glass. You always were terrible at being sneaky, little sister. Funny, I was just thinking the same about you. I held up David's contract. How long have you been planning this? Since you started asking questions about Marco. He stepped closer, reaching for the paper. Did you really think Father would let you walk away knowing what you know? I backed toward the window. And what exactly do I know, Tom? That depends on what Sophia Rossi told you. His eyes flickered to my bag. And what's in that ledger grandmother gave you? The bottom dropped out of my stomach. How did you... Because I've been watching you, Mary. We all have. Did you think you were the only one grandmother trusted with her secrets? A noise from the hallway made us both turn. Father stood there, looking older than I'd ever seen him. I told you to wait, he said to Tom, his voice heavy with something that might have been regret. She has the ledger, Tom replied. We need to... Need to what? I cut in, anger burning away my fear. Make me disappear like Marco? Father's face went slack. What did you say? I know everything. The money laundering, the embezzlement, how you forced Marco out and then... Shut up! Tom lunged forward, but Father caught his arm. Mary, Father said quietly, whatever you think you know about Marco is the truth. A new voice interrupted. Mother stood in the doorway, her hands shaking but her spine straight. And it's time she heard all of it. Susan, don't... I've kept your secrets for 20 years, Richard. I won't do it anymore. She turned to me. Marco didn't just disappear, Mary. He was murdered, and your brother helped cover it up. The world tilted sideways. Tom's face had gone chalk white. That's a lie. Is it? Mother's laugh was bitter as medicine. You were only 12, but you saw everything that night. And your father convinced you it was an accident, that keeping quiet would protect the family. I clutched the ledger tighter, remembering grandmother's words. Revenge runs in the family. That's why you've been watching me, I said to Tom. Not to protect Father's secrets, to protect your own. You don't understand, he whispered. You never understood what it takes to keep this family together. Together? The word tasted like ash. We were never together. We were just prisoners of his lies. I gestured at Father with the ledger. And grandmother knew everything. She was gathering evidence, waiting for the right moment. The right moment for what? David appeared behind Mother, and my heart contracted at his practiced, innocent expression. How long had he been listening? For justice, I said, meeting Father's eyes. Marco's daughter deserves to know what happened to him, and I'm going to tell her. No, Father said softly. You're not. He reached into his desk drawer and the world slowed down. Mother screamed. Tom moved forward. The ledger slipped from my fingers, but it was David who reached me first, pulling me through the office door as Father's hand emerged with something metal and final. Run, David hissed in my ear. I'll hold them off. But Mary... His eyes met mine. Don't trust anyone, not even me. I ran, my grandmother's ledger clutched to my chest, my family's secrets burning like poison in my veins. Behind me, voices raised in anger, in fear, in desperation. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. Because now I knew revenge wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about survival. Grandma Eleanor's hands shook as she sorted through her medications, the morning sun casting long shadows across her kitchen table. 3 days since I'd fled Vincenzo's, and the world had shifted like quicksand beneath our feet. Your mother called again, she said, not meeting my eyes. They're saying you stole financial documents, that you're trying to destroy the restaurant. My laptop screen flickered with Marco's autopsy report, obtained through channels I'd rather not think about. Funny how they're more worried about paper than murder. The doorbell rang, making us both jump. Through the window, I spotted David's car in the driveway. Grandmother's fingers closed around my wrist. Don't. she whispered. The timing's too convenient. I watched him pace on the porch, phone pressed to his ear. His voice carried through the window. No sign of her here, Tom. My chest tightened. Grandmother's grip strengthened. There's something else you need to see, she said, leading me to her study. But first, promise me you'll be careful with what you learn. Knowledge is like poison. The dose determines whether it kills or cures. She pulled a sealed envelope from her desk drawer. Inside, a photograph showed a younger version of my mother with David, dated 15 years ago. They were laughing, intimate, his arm around her waist. Your mother's affair didn't just break your father, Grandmother said softly. It broke something in Tom, too. Watching his perfect family crumble, seeing what secrets could do. The doorbell rang again, more insistent. David's voice rose. Mary, if you're in there, please, we need to talk. My phone buzzed. Sophia Rossi. Emergency? Meet me at the cafe. Found something about the night my father died. I have to go. I told Grandmother, but she blocked the door. Wait, there's more. She pressed a USB drive into my palm. Bank records, properties in your mother's maiden name. The real reason Marco had to die. What are you saying? Your father didn't kill Marco, Mary. Your mother did. And Tom saw everything. The world tilted sideways. Outside, car doors slammed. Multiple vehicles. Grandmother hurried to the window, her face draining of color. They're here. Richard, Tom, and... Oh, Mary. Your mother, too. My phone buzzed again. Lily. Don't trust Sophia. She's working with Tom. The greenhouse, Grandmother said, already moving. There's a tunnel left over from Prohibition days. It leads to the old church property. Come with me. No. She straightened her spine, suddenly looking every inch the family matriarch. I'll buy you time. But Mary... She gripped my shoulders. Whatever you do next, remember, revenge doesn't have to mean destruction. Sometimes the best revenge is surviving, thriving, building something new from the ashes. Heavy footsteps on the porch. David's voice joined by others. Grandmother pushed me toward the greenhouse door, the combination to my safe. She whispered, Use it when the time is right. Now go. I ran through the greenhouse, past the roses she'd taught me to tend, the herbs she'd used to heal my childhood scrapes. Behind me, the front door splintered open, voices raised in anger and accusation. The tunnel entrance lay hidden behind a false panel of gardening tools. As I pulled it shut, I heard my father's voice, cold with fury. Where is she, Eleanor? Where she needs to be. My grandmother replied, steel in her voice, doing what should have been done 20 years ago. A crash, a scream, my mother's. Then Tom's voice, urgent. She's in the greenhouse. I plunged into the darkness of the tunnel, my grandmother's USB drive clutched in one hand, my phone in the other. Above, footsteps thundered through the greenhouse. Glass shattered. Someone cursed. My phone lit up one last time. An unknown number. Marco's ledger wasn't the only one. Your grandmother kept her own records. Find them and you'll understand everything. D. I switched off the phone, letting darkness swallow me whole. Ahead lay uncertainty, danger, and truth. Behind lay everything I'd ever known, burning to ashes in my grandmother's greenhouse. But she was right. Revenge didn't have to mean destruction. Sometimes it meant surviving long enough to rebuild. And I intended to do both. The old church basement smelled of mildew and broken promises. I huddled in the corner, watching the USB drive's contents flicker across my laptop screen. 3 hours since I'd emerged from the tunnel, and each new document felt like another nail in my family's coffin. My phone vibrated. Lily's 10th attempt to reach me. I let it ring. After what the files had shown me about David's connection to my mother, I couldn't trust anyone. Not even my best friend. A door creaked upstairs. Footsteps echoed through the empty church. I know you're here, Mary. Tom's voice carried down the stairs. Grandmother's in the hospital. Stroke, they're saying. She's asking for you. My fingers froze over the keyboard. The latest document showed a series of payments from my mother to Marco, dated weeks before his death. Blackmail money. You're lying. I called back, already packing my laptop. Check your phone. A pause. She collapsed right after you left. The doctors don't think she'll make it through the night. My screen lit up with a hospital photo. Grandmother, pale and small against white sheets. Mother sat beside her, and the timestamp was from 10 minutes ago. "I'm coming down," Tom said. His footsteps descended slowly. Alone, unarmed. "Just let me explain." He appeared in the doorway, hands raised. The brother I'd grown up with looked haunted, hollowed out. "You knew," I said. "All these years you knew what Mother did to Marco." "I was 12, Mary. I saw—" He swallowed hard. "I saw her push him down the stairs at Vincenzo's. Saw Father help her hide the body. But I didn't understand why until now. The affair with David. Not just that." Tom moved closer, his shoes crunching on broken glass. "Marco discovered Mother's other life. The properties she'd bought with laundered money, the connections to organized crime. He threatened to expose everything. So she killed him." The words tasted like acid. "And Father covered it up. To protect us. To protect you." Tom's laugh was bitter. "Why do you think he pushed you so hard to join the restaurant? Keep you close. Keep you safe from Mother's world. Safe?" I gestured at my laptop. "There are millions missing from the restaurant accounts, all traced to offshore accounts in Mother's name." "I know. I've been tracking them for years, trying to find proof." He reached into his jacket, producing a familiar red ledger. "Grandmother's not the only one who kept records." The basement door slammed shut above us. David's voice carried down. "Tom, did you find her?" Tom's expression shifted to panic. "We need to go, now." "Why?" "David helped me escape at Vincenzo's." "Because David works for Mother. Has for 15 years. Tom grabbed my arm. "Their affair wasn't love, it was business. He's her cleaner when things get messy." Footsteps on the stairs. Tom shoved me toward a broken window. "The tunnels connect under the whole historic district," he whispered. "Go to St. Michael's Cemetery. I'll meet you at Marco's grave in 2 hours." "Why should I trust you?" "Because I'm done pretending." His eyes met mine. "Mother killed Marco. Now she's killing Father slowly with guilt, killing our family with secrets. It has to end." The basement door opened. I slipped through the window just as David's voice rang out. She was here, the laptop still warm. I ran through the darkness, Tom's ledger clutched to my chest. Behind me, voices argued. Something shattered. A gunshot cracked through the night. My phone buzzed one final time. A text from Mother. "You're just like Marco. Too stubborn to let things lie. Don't make me solve this problem the same way." I switched off the phone, letting the tunnels swallow me again. The truth about my family lay scattered between 3 ledgers, Marco's, Grandmother's, and now Tom's, each telling a different version of our destruction. But Grandmother lay dying. Tom might be dead. And Mother's cleaner was hunting me through the underground maze of our town's history. For the first time since this started, revenge felt hollow. This wasn't about justice anymore. It wasn't even about survival. It was about legacy. About whether anything good could grow from soil soaked in 20 years of lies. The cemetery waited ahead, Marco's grave holding its own secrets. In 2 hours, I'd either find answers with Tom or join Marco in the family's final betrayal. Either way, the harvest of our sins was ready to be reaped.